All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm sure we're going to have a few more late stragglers coming in, but we might as well get started. We have a lot to cover today. So I just wanted to welcome everybody to our first webinar at Allcan of 2026. Happy New Year. We're really excited today to have Felix Airline, who is the head of sales for the Americas for i.safe Mobile. Now, iSafe Mobile is one of the newer brands that we are distributing at Allcan across Canada. And it is, as you've probably seen in the invitation, the probably one of the best intrinsically safe push-to-talk products on the market. So today we're going to be talking about cellular devices, tablets, a variety of different specialty products as well that tie into this market, but specifically for the intrinsically safe hazardous environment market. Now, Felix brings just a wealth of information on not just the products that he sells, but also the intrinsically safe market, the classifications, zones, and so on. So we'll be touching on a number of topics today. So I'm really looking forward to introducing everybody to this product line and then exploring with you all going forward on some of the places we could apply this technology, because I think you're going to see there's some really interesting things we can do here. So before we get started, just some housekeeping. This is a broadcast webinar, so if you have questions, you won't be able to just simply ask your questions. You'll need to actually chime in the question box or the chat box shown on your Zoom tool. I have a different tool than you guys, being one of the presenters, so mine looks a little different. But if you have any questions, please submit them on the question box or the chat box within your Zoom tool, and we will likely address them at the very end. I'll monitor these as we go, and if there's something that's highly relevant at the time, I might bring this up. But for now, we'll let Felix take things away. Now, just before we get started, though, let's just a couple of other items while we have your attention. Just a reminder, this is your Allcan team for Canada. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate after the presentation to reach out to your business development manager in your region, who I'm sure you all likely know, as well as our crack inside sales team, which we have shown here down at the bottom. So really looking forward to getting engaged with our team and really just exploring some places that we can apply the iSafe line. Lastly, on Allcan Online, we now do have the iSafe mobile products, an initial batch of these available online for viewing as well on the Allcan website. So encourage you to explore that. And always a reminder, if you don't follow Allcan on our LinkedIn page, I strongly recommend you do that. So with that in mind, let's get to the good stuff. I'll stop talking. Felix, I'm going to hand this off to you and stop sharing. So please take it away.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm also going to share my screen. And if I don't hear any objections, I'm assuming you see it. So good evening from Germany. Good morning to Canada. I hope you're all doing good. I'm Felix, head of sales Americas at iSafe Mobile. And Ben, thanks again for the great invitation for the setup. Thanks to the Allcan team. I'm also super happy to see so many familiar faces in the audience of the Allcan team. We spent some time also in late October in Edmonton. So again, thanks for the organization. I'm going to shoot for around half an hour. I'm a sales guy, so I hope we're not overshooting too much, but it should be good. In terms of agenda, today what I'm planning to talk about is to really keep it nice and crisp. So this will not be a full what is hazardous areas and hazardous area seminar, and it's more like the basics. I try to keep it nice and crisp, and again, the folks at Allcan can then help you in case of any questions, or we can of course always make a follow-up meeting. Again, what I'm going to talk about today is who is iSafe Mobile, what are hazardous areas, what makes our EX certified devices unique. And then I prepared 3 use cases. Let's see how much time we're going to have today. And then of course at the end, I'm looking forward to the Q&A. So to start off with, who's iSafe Mobile? we were founded around 15 years ago. We're going to have the 15-year anniversary here. We're privately owned. Three of the founders are still in the company. One is our CEO, the other is our chief technology officer, and the other one is our Android and software guru. And they're really enjoying what they do, and we feel this every day here in the organization. I was thinking, what can I put on here? I think what makes us really stand out is that we are Android Enterprise Silver Partner, which means we have a direct access to Google and developer resources. We are invited to Google partner events. And then also together with the Qualcomm partnership that we have, this really allows us to extend the life cycles of products as long as we possibly can. We have products that have been in the market since 8 years with I believe the third or fourth major Android update coming. So again, this is only enabled because we have, in my opinion, really amazing R&D resources, whether be it for the Hazardous area part or just the actual smartphone or tablet part. And then also approvals is something that is very important for us, not only for the Hazardous area part, but also to get it into market. Design is in Germany. I'm based here in headquarters in Germany, in the beautiful Taubertal Valley in Lauder Königshofen. And I think, again, last but not least, I believe we can make all major global EX approvals. And this is something that especially our global accounts value. It's hard to do a global rollout, and when you want to standardize on one device platform, when you have to keep track of numerous firmwares and things like that. But enough of us. Let's get to the interesting part. What are hazardous areas? I'm going to start with something some might say is pretty basic. So I like to call it ingredients of an explosion, because I think that's really the first part to understand a hazardous area. I believe some of you might know about this, but again, in order to make a fire, you need three things. You need wood in terms of fuel. You need air as combustible, and then also you need ignition energy to start the fire. When you're having a barbecue with a gas-fired barbecue, it's the gas. You need, of course, some air, otherwise it wouldn't work if you're in space. And then you also need the spark to kickstart it. And it's the same thing for an explosion when we think about hazardous areas. So on the one hand side, you have the fuel, which is typically in the energy sector, some vapor, or when we talk about dust explosions, the classic example of the flour mill. Dust is also very explosive. You need oxygen, and you also need ignition energy. And of course, there is now different ways to mitigate that. Of course, you could take the oxygen away. Typically, when you're in plants, of course, nobody likes that. We need to breathe. You could take the fuel away, but in many situations, again, talking about the energy industry, that is, I think, self-understanding that in a refinery, you cannot take that power away. It's just going to happen. But our approach is we take the ignition energy away. But I'm also going to talk a little bit more about that later on. What are hazardous areas? I like to show this picture here. If I would hold this webinar in Europe or in other parts of the world, it would look a little bit different. In North America, we like to talk about divisions and classes. In other parts of the world, we like to call them zones. So in this case here, class 1 division 1 is literally, for example, inside the fuel tank, but also really close to the fuel tank. If you think about, for example, airline and airport fueling examples, this might be, for example, inside the airplane wing. But then if you get a little bit further away, it's division 2. So this is less time the explosive atmosphere is there. On the other hand side, on the right hand side, there is a explosion for dust. In that case here, it might be, for example, a silo, things like that has flour in or sugar or things like that. Of course, inside in there is permanent risk of explosion, which means this is a pretty dangerous area to be in. And then at the nozzle here, for example, this would be also division 1 in this schematics. And then when you get further away, that's division 2. In Europe, we would call division 1 inside the tank zone 0, and at the nozzle and close by zone 1. and Division 2 is basically oversimplifying here our Zone 2. So that's also maybe a little different here in terms of what we see internationally and what we need to also keep in mind when we certify it. This is usually determined during a HAZOP study, during a hazardous operation study by experts. So we're usually not the guys to come in and explain to a customer what requirements he has. Usually it's the other way around. We get approached and say, hey, I have this and this requirement. Do you have solutions for that? Where do we find those? Classic example is all over the energy industry. I'm sure that many of you, I'm not going to talk too much about this here, but many of you will probably know about this. When we talk about offshore, a lot of it is Zone 1, which would be something like Division 1 in North America. When we talk about refineries, when we talk about downstream operations, a lot of that is also a hazardous area. But typically the zone is influenced by how much ventilation is present there. Is it an outdoor operation? Is it indoor operation? How probable is it that there is the risk of explosion? All things like that. I also saw in the list of people attending that there's also a lot of Allcans distributors and dealers, which I'm particularly excited about. When customers reach out to you, typically what I see, so I tried to put some industries together where we see hazardous areas. So of course, apart from the energy industry, the chemical sector, of course, petrochem as well, there are also a lot of hazardous areas that can occur when we talk about basic chemicals, ethanol, ethylene, things like that. When we talk about flavors and fragrances, so anything that makes, for example, flavors for food, flavors for all sorts of things, perfume, things like that. Solvent-based paint and coating manufacturers, a topic for hazardous areas. Fertilizer plants, I think I don't need to talk too much about that. Again, but of course, we also have for chemical parks and chemical factories, or in the chemical sector in general, we have usually specialized fire brigades. They need to go in when there's an incident, EMTs sometimes, and those are also using in worldwide or in some parts of the world i.safe mobile products. Food and beverage is something that is, I think, also interesting. Where we, again, flour mill, I mentioned that before. Sugar is also highly explosive, especially when it is in dust form. So that is particularly something. Alcohol, when we talk about distilleries, speaking about the angel share in storages for barrels. I mean, again, that's all something that is alcohol, and alcohol is explosive. Underground coal mines is something. I'm not sure how many or how prevalent that is in Canada. I think it's a lot of open pit. And then again, just overly simplifying, shutdowns in the energy industry or in the process industry, turnarounds, that's usually when a lot of hazardous area rated devices come in. I didn't mention the pharma industry. So of course, there's a lot of batch production happening. When we talk about active pharmaceutical ingredients, these are the things that they make the actual drugs from. This can be very reactive. Of course, also the cleaning part, organic solvents, all things like that can be also very explosive. But yeah, enough about that. Maybe some people also joined because they are wondering themselves, okay, i.safe Mobile, you maybe heard of us before, maybe not, but what makes our EX devices a little bit unique, in my personal opinion? I think the biggest part is it's more than a case. And I say this specifically because I get that question a lot on trade shows when people ask me, hey, it's a nice phone you're having here, but is it a case? No, it is not. It is intrinsically safe. You might remember the picture of the fire, and our approach is to take the ignition energy away. So this is also the reason why my company, or not my company, unfortunately, why our company is called i.safe Mobile. So that means intrinsically safe mobile. Our products are designed in a way that they cannot cause any hot surfaces, explosions, all the capacitors, every electronic component is designed in a way that it will keep the device in safe conditions, also when multiple things go wrong. So this is something that I think makes us really stand out, because I feel like the result is a very compact device design, because we don't rely on additional casings, for example, to achieve the Class 1 Division 1 approval. Redundant safety architecture, like I mentioned, for especially the Class 1 Division 1 approval, we need redundant safety architecture within our devices in order to achieve that. And together with the mechanical design, there are quite strict requirements in order to be certified for a Class 1 Division 1 environment. This is something that we keep in mind when we design those devices. I mentioned at the beginning that we have the full control over the life cycle, full control over the design. So we start literally from scratch by selecting a chipset and then step by step building the device around it. And this gives us a great deal of control, and also a notice when a device will go end of life for clients. Usually we give a couple of years in advance the notice, so clients can prepare a smooth transition, because at the end of the day, I think this is what our global accounts also expect from us. They want us to be a very unexciting company, because I believe the IT professionals out there already have enough on their plate. German quality, 100% quality control here in Germany. This is something that is really important for us. Plus also the aspect that we see a lot of transition in terms of moving over to private networks, whether be it LTE or 5G, all over the world. I'm sure Allcan can probably talk even better about this, the topic of NCL, a lot of spectrum becoming available in Canada around N77 and some specific bands. We are ready for that. And also, what I think makes us unique is that we have a global distribution in place. We have specialized distribution partners all over the world, but we also can support international clients with the right certifications that they needed locally, whether be it an EX approval, a type approval, or a carrier approval if needed. And I think also the point that we have not only a Class 1 Division 1 device, but also can build on the same platform a Class 1 Division 2 device, and even a non-EX or a rugged device on the same device platform. And an IT professional will only see one device with one software that he needs to maintain. I think this is a particularly strong argument when we think about complex environments and multinational accounts that we have. It's the first time that I show our devices. In the preparation with Ben, he mentioned that, Felix, we need to show that more. And here they are. I tried to make this, of course, about i.safe, but also I tried to give you some background. Because what you can see here is that I think what I particularly like about our portfolio is that we have very different form factors. We have, I would say, a pretty full range of device screen sizes for that matter here as well. I have some use cases for later on. Some applications, some clients just require as much screen size as they can get, possibly. So these are usually Android based, but we're also going to have a Windows product coming out quite soon. Plus also we have the same, or not the same devices, but we also offer devices that are, for example, optimized for one-hand observation, right? Like a smartphone. Sometimes when you're on an oil rig, you just, you have a lot of gear that you're carrying, but you still want to be able to handle that device easily and safely, maybe with a one hand. But also we have more purpose-built devices, for example, like this one, the IS945. We call it a 5G radio. So that's really, it is designed by us to have a look and feel of a traditional radio, but under the hood it has the latest Qualcomm chipset for that we also have in our tablet and a smartphone with 4G and 5G bands, plus also a camera. So it can also be sort of a body cam, but with a 5G functionality. So I know that there are a lot of radio professionals in here. This is really focusing on the mission critical push to talk part that this can provide. And we also have different form factors, like for example, smartwatch. We have also a phone with actual buttons, like a good old Nokia phone you remember from the old days. Customers still require it. Buttons are quite convenient when you're wearing a lot of PPE or are in a very wet environment, for example. So that's also something we still have. But looking at the time, I want to just give a sneak peek of the Class 1 Division 1 Windows tablet that we already are certified and will now ship in the next couple of days. Also the first units, and also we have the first demo also out, and the feedback that we get so far is really good. So the topic is we've been so far mostly focused on Android as main operation system, but we get the requirement from a number of customers also for a Windows device. And we decided to go for an ARM64 OS, which is something that, for example, Apple has done very successfully to work with M series chips, also with a different chipset architecture. And we believe that, like I put in here on the right-hand side, an ARM chipset will create less heat, and therefore will also require less cooling mass and therefore less weight. And these are all things we have to really care about in a hazardous environment. Oh, there's a typo. Sorry about that. To make it as light and as compact as possible. Plus also, again, less energy is consumed. That means we can put a smaller battery in there with a better weight to watt efficiency, and then also a smaller form factor. So this is something we are particularly excited about. Talking a little bit about what is there apart from the devices. So for us, we really care also about having a bit of an accessory ecosystem around our products. We have different, for example, charging options. We have carrying options. We have case options if needed. We have audio accessories, like, for example, our new Class 1 Div 1 RSM that basically then turns the 5G phone here really also from the look and feel almost into a radio with the right push-to-talk app. We have barcode scanner attachments. So, for example, when you're a paint and cone manufacturer, you have to scan a lot of barcodes all day in a warehouse. Of course, you want to eliminate some errors. So basically what you can do is you can turn this device with this attachment there, second from the right, into a proper, full certified Class 1 Division 1 barcode scanner. And then also what we have coming up for our tablet series, the 940 tablet series that is available in Android and also quite soon in Windows. It will be a special docking station that will allow our clients to keep the power within hazardous area and also provide an Ethernet connection. So I believe this is also a first when we think about mobility, to almost have sort of a mobile HMI if you think about that. But what I also wanted to talk about, reading also what we put on today's menu, all of our EX certificates are online and they are public. And this is something that I think particularly is important for any serious player out there and company who offers hazardous area devices. They are certified. Of course, there's a lot of reputation involved here, and we absolutely have nothing to hide. So, for example, this is a screenshot of the latest tablet that we have, the 10-inch 5G tablet. And you can see here, for example, that's a Class 1 Div 1 approval. You can also find it in on our homepage in the product section. For every product, we give all the EX certs that we have. And in this case here, look, there's, for example, the CSA approval and the CSA standard we tested for in the Canadian lab that we have. So yeah, just wanted to show that because, I mean, hazardous areas are a very serious place to work in. And again, it's lives at stake here. So it's always important to trust on the equipment that you have, and also to just check that off your list of things that, for example, an HSE department has to worry about. Why hazardous area devices? There is probably a million use cases. We put together a bunch of them, and I prepared a few in more details. I think at the end of the day, we can summarize it by the fact that every organization out there has a lot of cost pressure. especially in the chemical industry. We feel that here. We talk a lot to our clients, and they say they need to utilize each colleague or they need them to be as efficient as possible, even if they can get a colleague. I mean, there's the other thing that there's a experience gap and a knowledge gap, and the really experienced folks there are retiring. So again, it's really about making everybody as effective as possible, as productive as possible, and keep them informed and secure in hazardous areas. When we talk about lone worker use cases, when we think about things like in general, streamlining maintenance processes, not having to just walk around from the safe area to the hazardous area, documenting everything on paper, and then go back to the office and type it in, with the potential for errors and also the time lost. So this is why I prepared 3 use cases. I think we have at least time for 2, and then we can have a look at the clock if we can make the last one. Remote assistance is big. So I brought one use case here. This one is about offshore, but again, it can work absolutely the same way in onshore operations. So the challenge here was that a client requested the possibility to have a remote support in place because they're, especially offshore, it's very difficult to get people out there. They need special training, even to get into the helicopter, and even to be out on the rigs. It's very expensive and takes a lot of time and training. Plus, also Wi-Fi infrastructures can be sometimes difficult to install and very costly in hazardous areas. They need special enclosures, and if you have a large site, you need a lot of Wi-Fi enclosures. They all need power, and that is something that requires a lot of attention to detail and will to pull through. So again, most commercial routers and hotspots are not certified for explosive atmospheres, require enclosures and things like that. Solution was our phone, the IS945 with a remote collaboration app. And the thing that also worked quite well was that they are using now a private network with Starlink as backhaul for the connectivity. Because they basically can put up antennas on the rig and then therefore create the connection also for the device. And this helped here in this case to really give the frontline workers who are out there every day offshore to connect them in a really fast and efficient way with somebody onshore who might be the expert on the topic, who can put up some drawings, sketch on them if necessary, and therefore, of course, reduce the downtime and improve the overall operational efficiency. Again, why was it the phone? Again, it has the private network bands. It's quite useful because you can handle it really easily with one hand. The RF performance was also something that our clients enjoyed. I mean, we do have, they're not small devices. I'm not shy of saying that, but the amazing thing is we have a lot of space for antennas, also for the tablet. This means that really we can have a really good connection. So this is also what this customer said. And we have an interface here on the side that allows our device to be connected inside a hazardous area to, for example, audio accessory. So this is what they liked here. Second use case I want to talk about briefly here is the topic of communication, possibly even mission critical grade communication. And I mean, again, there are a lot of radio professionals here in this audience, so I don't need to talk or tell you that industrial workers need instant communication, and it just needs to work, right? But there's also the fact, and this is what we hear from a lot of clients, is that there is a lot of cost pressure, and also the movement to consolidate devices, because budgets are only so big, and they don't get any bigger anytime soon, I believe. So we see workers having a radio on hand, but also a very premium i.safe device. There is a possibility to combine that. Most of our devices have fancy push to talk buttons here. And again, this was also the expectation in this case here. So there was the need for mission critical grade communication, but also topics like SOS alerts, man down detection, check-ins, things like that were really a topic that they were looking into solving. how do we do it? Solution was mission critical push to talk app integrated with our devices. In this particular project, we were relying on the IS945.1 just because of the budget and the scale. So this device has significant more functions and also a different price point. And they just wanted to get the folks connected and also like the option of having the camera, especially in case of emergency broadcasting. So the person in the dispatcher room or the dispatcher can also have a quick look if something goes wrong. Plus also, it was a private 5G situation with the cellular, the public cell as fallback option is because we have a dual SIM option here as well. And again, the movement really was for the device consolidation. I mentioned the body-worn camera functionality that for sure comes in handy if there's, for example, a security person in a chemical factory, maybe being new on the job, standing at a location where he just wants to have a quick check with the control room. Hey, how is, do I need to go here? Do I go here? What is that? So again, the camera was quite handy for that. Again, fit for purpose specification. For this project, it just had the right set of functions. And I would say we shouldn't underestimate the topic of radio look and feel. This is particularly important. Also, having a quick look at the time, wanted to mention this here. I think given the fact that we have our in-house Android team and software team in place, this allows us to also have really fruitful cooperations with market leaders in the push-to-talk sector. I just put in 2 screenshots here. I mentioned that we have a lot of functional keys here on the devices, but how do you configure them? So standard Android wouldn't provide that. You wouldn't probably find that on a Samsung or a Google Pixel. So we built a button framework, we call it, where we worked with the push-to-talk vendors. I just put a few names here, but these are by far not everyone that we work with. So you can really assign, for example, the intent for wave to the push-to-talk button, or you can make sure that the SOS button actually is mapped to the right application. Things like that. And this, I think, is something that especially when we think about more interesting knobs like a rotary knob here, the channel switch needs to work full stop. Otherwise, it is not really useful in terms of a device. And again, this is something we spend a lot of time and energy optimizing. So our customers can have the best possible experience using the devices here. So Ben, a quick look at the clock. Should I also talk about the asset management use case?
I think so. Yeah, I think we have a little bit of time, Felix. Let's
jump into that. Yeah, awesome. So asset management. So that's a big topic. Also, when we talk about inspections in the industry, so we encountered the challenge, and again, this is not specifically also for one client. We have the use case also here on our homepage. But we encountered there's a lot of manual work going, and the client reported to us that there are manual Excels used to document the inspection work. Of course, there is an inspection management tool in place, but it wasn't possible to use it in the field. It's in hazardous area. And again, handwritten inspection reports. Topic of transparency. That's especially when you want to scale an operation and achieve a certain level of operational excellence. You need to make sure that it is also scalable. And in this case here, it was a bit difficult. And of course, the cost of just people not being able to have the right information at the right time, at the right place. So the 940 in this case was used. Our customer used a smart asset care application on this device. They had it a little bit customized, but nothing spectacular. But at the end of the day, what they were able to achieve is a real-time data capturing. So inspection contractors like this one, they need to do corrosion checks, for example. They need to do assessments of insulations. They need to measure wall thicknesses. That's especially also a topic offshore. hazardous area. And at the end of the day, if there's a solution in place where you can also take a photo of it, you can screen size was nice here, document everything. This at the end reduced the time by 30% that they were needing to do that. Why did we do a 940.1 here? They just wanted as much screen size as possible, and I believe our 940 tablet has, I would say, a market-leading screen to housing dimension. So you really get not a lot of weight from the housing, but you can really use a lot of screen. You can actually replace the battery at the back. This might sound like, yeah, of course you can, but previously we couldn't do that. So we are really proud that also the device doesn't need to be shipped anywhere to change a battery if you have used it for 3 or 4 years and you want to have a fresh one in. And again, we believe the design is quite compact, and that's also the feedback that we get from our clients. Though, again, just a quick disclaimer, hazardous areas are a very serious topic. And of course, this should serve as really a starting point for you to be a bit sensibilized, like we say in German, to know when you hear Class 1, Division 1, Class 1, Division 2. But of course, there's a really fine line, and every detail needs to be inspected when you have a requirement here. So with this, I think we can go to the Q&A section. So again, thanks for your attention, and let me know if you have any more questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Felix. That's really good information. So we haven't had any questions posted here, but I always have questions. So we'll
Nice.
certainly dive into this. Can you just, for those who don't know, and I learned this recently as well, for those that aren't aware of what's involved with the whole case application, so the intrinsically safe cases, and we see some vendors, for example, or customers require Apple or iOS devices and things like that, and they're forced to use an intrinsically safe case that is a bit special, but there's a lot of. Could you just give us just a quick overview, just to explain to folks, because I have a feeling a lot of people don't understand what's involved with applying a case to those non-intrinsically safe devices.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, you mentioned the example of iOS products. So, I personally also use an iPhone in my private life. I believe it's an amazing consumer product. So, it's a perfect device to take photos when you're on vacation, to be at home doing Instagram, things like that. I believe the work environment out there, especially when we talk about verticals like the energy industry or manufacturing, it's just very tough. It's very rough. So we believe that purpose-built devices can make the life of workers a bit easier. But also for us, it's really important to provide, for example, a very long life cycle with our devices. So when we talk about 7 or 8 years that we are supporting as a manufacturer a device with security updates, that means if a device is certified, a company can be sure that for 7 or 8 years, for example, like we did it with the IS945.1, they don't need to worry about changing the device or requalification or things like that. They can be sure that we can repair this device. So, for example, we have a network of repair centers all over the world. And I believe this is also something that helps significantly. Also, having to buy such device is an investment. Hazardous area equipment is, I believe, probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than a comparable consumer product. But having the option to also send it to a repair shop, and for a fraction of the cost of a new product, getting a cracked screen repair or things like that, is, I think, something that makes a big difference. So, long story short, I believe they're also the case solutions. They are they're really high tech. There's really nothing to say about that. But we believe that designing a device from scratch and putting every component where we think it should be is, for us, the right way to do it. So that's maybe one of the reasons why my boss decided to call the company iSafe and not EXD Safe, maybe. So,
well, and my observation has been that applying an intrinsically safe case is very different than, say, just simply attaching a case to your personal phone, right? There's a much
Yeah,
more
yeah,
robust process that goes. It makes the device much thicker and heavier, and it's not something you can take out of that case afterwards on a whim. It's done after
yeah,
that, and it's permanently attached inside that case by a company that does this and is certified to do this. So this isn't a matter of simply having your fleet of devices, ordering on Amazon some cases that they can attach to the back, and now you're intrinsically safe.
yeah. So
So
you that is correct. Yeah, it's an EXD enclosure, especially when we talk about the Class 1 Division 1 environment. So again, there's different ways of making EX protection. We do the intrinsically safe way by limiting energy, etc. You can also put it into enclosures. That is something we see a lot of with installations in North America, and basically the impact of an explosion to the environment is limited. So it's basically a flame-proof housing, if you want to like that. So, and these need to be maintained by trained technicians. Um, Spare parts are a big topic. If we are, we're not a big company. We are not a Samsung or a Google Pixel or an Apple, right? So that means we really can decide on our terms when we'll be stop discontinuing or supporting a device. And we believe this really makes a big difference also down the road for organizations.
nice. Well, and I
Mm.
think it's important, especially for those on the call here who might be out selling or talking to their clients, to have a client say, well, we're probably just going to use a case for our device, truly understanding that it's very, very different than, like I said, applying, a basic case you get from Amazon.
Yeah.
And so don't let that dissuade you, I guess, is what I'm saying to the salespeople on the call,
Mm.
that this is, in my opinion, a much better option for long-term viability of a deployment that has a significant investment. And those cases are not cheap either. So I
Mm.
don't think that this is going to be a much lower cost option for the client. So definitely something worth keeping in mind. Just to go back to the app support, I
Mm.
noticed some people may not have picked that up, but I believe you guys have some significant experience working with that Motorola Wave, for example.
Yeah.
I bring that up specifically is because we do have a
Mm.
number of Motorola dealers on this call who do work with Motorola Wave application, as well as numerous other applications with some of the vendors that are on here. But can you just touch base on your experience with that?
Yeah, of course. And also I can quickly reshare the slide that I had there. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Motorola, I think, is really present in the market. And we also, so for example, the IS945 is officially approved by Motorola as with all its functionalities. It's a very lengthy process to go through,
Mhm.
but we're happy that we completed it. And so this is really a screenshot I took yesterday night for my 540. I mean, well, night. This was 517. And I wanted to show you that, for example, if you would have Wave on this device and you would like to make sure that every button is working in the way that Motorola intends it to be and verified it. In this case, you would select the Motorola Wave here when you go into the menu and select the Push to Talk app, and then you click on Motorola Wave, and then you save it, and then you know that Wave that is installed on your phone, when this button screams Push to Talk, that Wave will understand that. And again, this is something that we did with numerous vendors. We did some work with Tasta as well. Mobile Tornado, Streamlight. I know that I think there are also some interesting projects in Canada with Streamlight.
Yes.
For example, one of the little things we implemented, it's actually interesting. On a 540, we have a little side button here. Not sure if you can see it. Actually, a little bit before Apple had it. So typically, this is actually used as a camera button, where the cameras started. But also, what we did, for example, with Streamlight is we enabled an option that's called here extra action. And when you're going through this menu and you say, okay, push to talk, and you go and select this button here, you can basically also use this button here to change channels on Streamlight, things like that. And I would say that describes quite well. I believe we're quite a flexible company, so we are not a juggernaut. We can be quite fast and reactive, and if there are any issues, which sometimes there are, of course, we can deploy our own R&D resources. And this has helped me tremendously also in the last couple of years in projects.
Excellent.
So yeah,
Yes, we at Allcan we do have a lot of experience with
mm,
a variety of vendors, applications, accessories, and so on. And we have found it's critical for some
mm,
of these applications to do a lot of proof of concept testing early on to ensure that your
yeah,
software, your accessories, the operating system version that's running, and the push to talk application are all going to work together for the various use cases that you may have out there, whether it's people in vehicles,
yeah,
people in the field with different form factors, different audio accessories that are there. Each of those combinations needs to really be tested and vetted through. So, and that's something that we
yeah,
specialize at Allcan on as well. So, a lot of times people think, well, it supports Android. This app supports Android. I should be good to go. And while a lot of the times that is the case, it's fascinating how one update
yeah,
to an Android device can all of a sudden cause the accessory to stop working for the push to talk app that you're using. And so it's an ongoing monitoring of this ecosystem for each client. It's something we specialize in on Allcan, but it's not something that needs to be really kind of um, not really thought through. You really have to pay some attention to that, not just at the start of a project, but even as it evolves over time. So,
yeah. This also makes it easier, also with the audio accessories that we have. So, for example, just going back to this slide here in the center here, there is an RSM. So we have it as wired, but also as Bluetooth. It's class 1, Div 1 rated. And yeah, we have a lot of buttons on here, but we also have buttons on the phone. So you might want to configure this button differently than this one. How does Wave know that you press this button here, right? So
mm-hmm.
it pays off to have a bit of a control of the ecosystem as well from our side, because then we really can make sure that this RSM works as good as possible with this device, that we have the right amount of noise canceling in there. And I remember last time we were in Edmonton last year, we also did some field tests also with the RSM in the machine room, and it was I'm still quite happy how it turned out to
Yes,
be. So things
yes.
like that, right? That helps. Also for me as a salesperson.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question, and then I'll bring this thing home. But can you tell me, does iSafe are you able to support standalone 5G networks as opposed to the NSA networks that we're seeing a lot out there?
Yeah, for sure. So we've received the feedback that our devices work very well in 5GSA conditions. For example, I just had a conversation in December when I was visiting a client in Houston, and he was very, very happy with our devices. And he mentioned that we have 5 decibel more antenna gain than comparable devices. Plus, also we can actually latch onto the private CBRS 5G network that they have on site.
Excellent.
So yeah, for sure, we support 5GSA with our. I have to say that with our 40 series. So when we go back,
Sure.
we also have a range of LTE devices like this tablet here. So of course, this does not support 5GSA, but the phone, the tablet, of course, does the 440. Especially for, of course, 5GSA is not out there in every little town, especially in
Yes.
Germany. We are notoriously bad at that.
Okay.
But when we talk about private network situations, we believe this is a very key part of the puzzle to have.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are seeing a big shift in the market here in Canada. There's a lot of private networks that are starting to go
Mm.
in the industrial side of the world, mining, oil and gas in particular. Utilities are coming
Yeah,
around the corner, and some publicly available spectrum in the N77 band in 5G. And I know we have people who are trying to ensure they can, lock devices down to 5G only solutions, for example. So I think it's really important that people are aware that there are some models, to your point, in the
yeah,
i.safe lineup that will fully support that 5G ecosystem that we're really moving into in Canada.
yeah.
I guess what I'm going to do then is I'm going to just take back control of the screen, and
Yes, please.
I just want to quickly. Where's my share button? I quickly just want to show people the iSafe website very quick. And normally I wouldn't do this, but the iSafe website is excellent. It really is a great tool. Now, I'm a technical person by trade. I
Mm.
like to dive into the technology when I'm working with clients on solutions. Having the details, the technical specifications, the certifications at my fingertips is really, really important. I do a lot of work at night. I don't want to have to pick up the phone, call a vendor and say, hey, can you send me that spec sheet? And iSafe, in my mind, has gone above and beyond in making that content available. So I strongly recommend for the salespeople out there, if you're working on a presentation or a proposal, the iSafe-mobile.com, you can see the address up here, is an excellent resource. And so just to give you an example, iSafe does have a range of products. So they have the Zone 1 products listed, Zone 2 products listed. They even then have non-intrinsically safe but ruggedized industrial versions of a number of these products as well. Obviously, there's a price point with that. If you have a client who doesn't need a full Class 1 Div 1 certification, you don't need to pay that price. We have a slightly lower price that you accommodate with not as stringent an approval. So that's something to be really aware of. So to give you an example, let's go to the 540.1, which is a 5G smartphone. All right. Really getting to a chance to take a look at that device, 360 view. There's a lot of good information that's on here. And as you scroll down, obviously we have our usual technical features that you can work through, the data sheets, and then you get into your approvals. If you are providing a client with a quote and you need to be able to show the certifications, for example, all of those are available here. We can go to the certificates, and then you can download the appropriate certificate, in this case, ISX for Canada, and you can see those CSA approvals and provide that to your client. So I just wanted to point that out, that this
Yeah.
website is really good for having access to a variety of information. And you'll see a lot of really cool products that are out there. So definitely recommend that. Just
And I
wanted
also
to
see that
plug that.
I
Go ahead.
also see that we have four really good questions in the chat. I mean, we have still 6 minutes left. I'm gonna try
Yes.
my best at that. I mean, Darren, you asked, can you explain the primary reason intrinsically safe devices are better than cases? Of course, I can elaborate on that. I mean, better. I wouldn't say better. I would say they are very different. The case is designed in a way, and again, don't quote me on this one. I'm the salesman, right? So you have an enclosure that is, if you have an installation, it's cast iron, it's very big, it's very heavy. You can put electronics in there that is not intrinsically safe, that could possibly cause an explosion, and basically protects the environment from the impact of this explosion. So I hope my R&D isn't listening. They would probably like Felix, you kind of explain it like that. So long story short, I think technology has come a very long way in the last couple of years. So there are some vendors out there who can make really relatively light and compact cases. Again, I focus on Zone 1 or Class 1 Div 1 here. But we think that a device that is just by itself safe to be used in a hazardous area does not require that extra weight or the dimensions that are connected to, for example, a case. So again, it's just, I would say it's a matter of philosophy also. So that's just what we do. And we think that, I think we also continue doing that. Otherwise, need to change the company name.
Yeah.
Second question, you pulled up the RealWare Navigator already. So this was a cooperation between a company called RealWare and us, iSafe Mobile. So when you have the Navigator in hand, you take a look at the label. There's our name. The name of the hazardous area certificate is in our name. So this is basically something like a head-up display virtual reality headset, but we like to refer to it as basically like a head-worn tablet. And I think where this device really excels is in an offshore environment when you have this device mounted to a helmet. And for example, you're dangling below deck on a rope and you do inspections and you probably have everything but your hands free to have a phone or something like that. And then you can make, for example, a Teams call with somebody on shore. Lately, also, we found that actually having such device can also do a similar job. It's not as maybe perfect in terms of you see the other person also what they are doing, what they are showing in terms of the drawings. But you can, for example, also enable a push to video functionality, or the dispatcher can activate the video of the person. This is also possible. But for this, I believe there's a lot of team viewer and Teams being used. So I hope this answers your question a little bit.
Awesome.
So 3 minutes.
I think there's the
Which,
Windows OS.
yeah, I can elaborate on that. So we'll be having Windows 11 IoT Enterprise LTSC for ARM64. So I just read that. So what does that mean? So like I said, this is not an Intel-based device. So we have an ARM64 architecture of the chipset. It is just different. It's, I would say, a little bit more mobile device native. And the enterprise part means about the OS that, for example, I believe Copilot, for example, is not on there. You probably wouldn't find the Xbox Game Bar on there. I personally wouldn't expect that. LTSC means long-term support channel. So this means that this OS that we have on here is being supported for a very long time also by Microsoft for a lot of years. I think I read something in between 5 to 10 years. Again, this is still a fairly new product, so I used to be the Android guy now. I'm also a bit more in the Windows world. And again, LTC also means in the enterprise version that the features are not, you wouldn't probably get the latest and greatest Copilot on there, like all the feature changes that you typically see in the more consumer-oriented version, because to be honest, if that device is validated and works with the software it has on, then it should stay like that, right? It's a professional device.
Perfect.
Ron asked, so you're welcome here. Thank me for the presentation. And he also asked about a Bluetooth RSM. So yes, we do have a Bluetooth RSM. I can quickly share, or you can maybe also visit it on the homepage. So that's even easier.
There.
Yeah, correct. So that's we launched last year. It's Class 1 Div 1 approved. And what it does is it has a battery in, so you want to charge that because it has active noise cancellation and also a pretty good audio processor in here. It's fairly loud, similar to our devices. And also, thanks for pointing that out. Similar like we do with the 440, the 440, we do also offer an attachment option for the ClickFast by Peter Jones. I think talking about that would probably be another webinar. Yes. Long story short, I think Peter Jones is one of the strongholds and the really big names in the blue light sector, specifically in the United Kingdom. When you see any Netflix shows and somebody takes off their body cam, they typically have the counterpart for this attachment here. And this makes the 440, but also the RSM really conveniently attached and tethered, and also securely to a person. And so yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Perfect. And we can definitely, please, by all means, folks, reach out to myself or the Allcan team for any other questions that you may come up with either now or once you're really thinking about this. Let it marinate a little bit. So great. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this home. So let me just do this. Make sure you guys can see my screen. So look, a big thanks to Felix for walking us through the line today. And just to wrap this up, this isn't just about push-to-talk applications. I think we've discovered, and one of the things that I really like about where iSafe has gone, especially with the Windows tablet, is this is shifting our business into new markets. And we don't often get that opportunity. You know, folks like ourselves who are selling in the critical communications world typically live and die by voice communications. But more and more, we are getting pulled into cellular communications, cellular applications, whether they're private network or carrier-based. And that is starting to bleed over into other applications that aren't voice-based. And we are at Allcan starting to get requests and requirements, particularly for the iSafe product, that have nothing to do with voice, but they need reliable, rugged, intrinsically safe approved devices that are approved in CSA that they can use for a variety of applications, whether there's asset management. We've seen assisted maintenance routines on the tablets that people are using with an automated Bluetooth devices. There's a variety of applications in the hazardous environment. People want to take these solutions out into the field and they need a device to use that on. And so now for us as critical communications sellers and solution providers, having now a suite of tools that goes outside of just voice and can offer a lot more to these companies means that we now have more people to work with, more solutions to provide that aren't just critical voice based. And for me, the salesperson to me is thrilled about that. Anytime I have a broader audience to sell these devices to, it's a great opportunity. And honestly, this stuff's really fun. It's really interesting learning about some of the different applications that people are working on in some of these industrial environments. So on the Allcan side, we bring a tremendous amount of depth when it comes to push-to-talk applications and device deployments, whether it's mounting solutions, audio accessories, really understanding the use case that is going to be deployed for each device and each user in the field is critical. So we can help you with that at Allcan, and I really recommend working with our team to work through with your clients, or if you're a client yourself, working with your users to really understand what's the best fit. Where does the mic go? How are they going to push the talk and engage that push to talk button? Is there an emergency situation needed? Do we need location services? There's a variety of different things. And then also, what network are you running on? So there's a lot of things that need to be considered, and we can help you walk through that. We also do have a optional fit for use test lab that when required and when enabled, we don't do this for everything, but for specific applications, we can work with you on the different combinations of devices, accessories, and push-to-talk applications, as well as versions of software to ensure that everything is going to work together. So really recommend chatting with our team as you go through, because there's a lot of logistical things that can come into a correct and successful deployment with a client.
Oh yeah, it's never easy.
It's not. It's
It
not.
is
So
never
to
easy.
close out, really, I think it's imperative, especially in this case, understand your hazardous environment. What are the requirements that are needed? We can cover most of the requirements you're going to run into, but we need to understand what those are. And then we want to put in the right device for not only a hazardous environment, but then the use cases that we're going to deal with. So don't lose sight of the functionality and the simplicity for users in the field. If you give the users a device that is too complex to use or doesn't align to where they're at, you're going to have a variety of people pushing back on these deployments, and they're not going to be happy with the device. Even though it's a great device and a great solution, you really need to consider about the user's needs. We're very good at helping you with that, as well as i.safe. i.safe has seen just a ton of different applications and deployments, and so they bring a lot of experience as well to different ideas and how to solve some of these problems. And so really when this comes down to, as I mentioned before, intrinsically safe environments, this is going past communications now. There's a lot of opportunity for us, especially as private networks unfold across Canada. The customers that are using private networks are going to want to get as much out of those networks and that investment as possible. They're going to want to apply a variety of different applications, software, and solutions to run on those networks. Push to talk, obviously, being one, but a variety of other applications as well. And we can help with that for sure. And really don't forget about the network. That network is critical. And the best devices in the world can't fix bad networks. So you still need to be very aware of the network and the network environment that you're in. And again, we'll help you at least navigate and understand what's ahead. So chat with us. We're your gateway to iSafe. And we're really looking forward to working with you guys. So let's close out here. Felix, thank you very much for spending the time. I know it's late in Germany, so I appreciate you coming on board with us. And any last words on your side?
No, I mean, again, thanks for everybody taking the time today. Yeah, so I'm used to being the last one in the office, so
Yeah. All
that's part
right.
of the job, being the
Yes.
Americas guy here at iSafe.
Yes.
So no worries. No, I really enjoyed today. And again, if you have any specific topics where you say, hey, this is something we'd like to know more about, we'd like to expand on, of course, I'm always available also through Allcan on for a meeting, or perhaps also a next edition of the webinar, of course.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for
Welcome.
joining. Yeah, looking forward to further discussions. All right.
You have a good
Take
day.
care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.